Hey everybody, how are you doing? Before we get started, just want to go ahead and say, as usual, those who are just now joining, hearts and likes only is as easy as it's going to be to press the anger face or the sad face whenever I say something that sucks. Try to fight your urge, because the more hearts and likes we have, the better the video does on Facebook. And as you know, considering the war Facebook is waging against legitimate news at this point, we need as much help and assistance as we can get. So first of all, good evening everybody. For those who are on the West Coast, good afternoon. I wanted to talk to you all a little bit about the results of the Electoral College, which all of you all know Trump won. And for those who may be on the I hate Trump so much that I want to undermine all democracy train, that's not really a good idea. In fact, as much as it pains me to say, the electors did the right thing, most of them. We needed the Electoral College to vote Trump. Trump won. He won the Electoral College. Whether we could argue about the legitimacy of the Electoral College and all the intricacies that go along with it and the reason why it exists, the reason why it doesn't, that's a debate for another episode. But right now, we needed Donald Trump to win. The Electoral College, I mean. We needed the electors to do what they did. Primarily because we need to maintain faith in our electoral system. And right now, that when we see our electoral system being attacked from so many areas on the Republicans, is from the Republicans, as you see voter suppression, you see the cross state checks, essentially trying to eliminate blacks and other minorities with the same names from voting, with the same first and last name, not middle name, from voting in various states. From the Democrats, you see situations where they're adding votes to machines. You have the placebo votes, or the mail-in ballots, that are being counted overwhelmingly in favor of Hillary and Democrats and things like that. We see the mainstream media giving us false news and fake news. And so at this very moment, what we need is security and a victory for election integrity. Because let's be very clear and perfectly honest, everybody, we all know that the electors that voted in favor of Hillary, despite their state voting in favor of Trump, they're either getting their information from mainstream media, which would be false, illegitimate, and a lot of times just incomplete information. And then you have the situation where there are electors who know exactly what they're doing. They know that they just never wanted Trump to win. They're in the establishment's pockets, and they're doing what they can to ensure that Hillary Clinton becomes the victor. So we had an important victory for election integrity today. The most popular candidate won. And I mean legitimately the most popular, not like, oh, I won the popular vote, because that's not the most popular candidate. Let me explain why it's important that in situations like these that we have the Electoral College. Although I'm not a fan of the Electoral College, don't get me wrong, but what the Electoral College did today is why I am partially a fan of the Electoral College, in the sense that there are electors who will vote in favor of what most of the states and most of the people want, but there are situations like this where the popular vote isn't necessarily the right way to vote. And a lot of people are probably like, what the hell? Popular vote should always win. Well, according to proportionality or disproportionality, whichever one you want to call it, in a situation like this, it is extremely important that the Electoral College is the determining factor in whether a state goes one way or the other, or an election goes one way or the other. Because Hillary Clinton may have won the popular vote, but right now, during a time when we're finding out from states like Wisconsin, states like Michigan, states like Pennsylvania, that Hillary Clinton actually has stolen thousands of votes, thousands upon thousands of votes, and potentially is, if we add up all the states together, which it will cost too much money to recount every single state. But what we're looking at essentially is that if we start adding these states up, it's starting to look like she's won the popular vote by less and less and less. And when we're seeing votes being stolen mainly in Democratic cities and counties, it just kind of refortifies the fact that it is a Democrat stealing these votes, because it is a Democrat who won. It's a Democrat who can influence the infrastructure that is currently in place, that is Democratic or liberal leaning, and take advantage of that. Because once again, Republicans suppress votes. They don't add votes, which is what we've been seeing during the recount. We also have to deal with the fact that there was a huge amount of misinformation being dealt by the mainstream media. And because of that misinformation, people were voting with they weren't voting with the correct info, and therefore voting for Hillary, not knowing what happened in WikiLeaks, not knowing what happened with NAFTA, having limited opportunity to see Hillary Clinton debate Bernie Sanders, and have a limited opportunity to see Hillary Clinton even debate Donald Trump. There was a mass amount of suppression of facts. I think that's something that we can all agree on, considering that WikiLeaks exposed it with the email situation. So when we hear something like the popular vote went to Hillary Clinton, I live in New York. Most people have no idea what Hillary Clinton has done in this state. I'm telling you, I know, because they say, okay, well, we say, what about social media? Well, the truth of the matter is, they go on social media. If they weren't Bernie supporters prior to this general election, they have other like-minded friends and like-minded people on their social media who are probably also Hillary supporters. So they don't get the information that a Bernie supporter or a Jill Stein supporter or a Gary Johnson supporter or even a Trump supporter would get. And so if they're getting misinformation from the news, their friends are simply regurgitating misinformation on their timelines, then that means they're voting with incomplete information. And therefore that vote has officially been compromised. And because of the main misinformation coming from the Democrats and the establishment Democrats and liberal mainstream media, places like California, if I think it's besides Texas, I think California is the most populated state in the country. States like New York, top 3 most populated state in the country. States like Florida, one of the most populated states in the country. Of course, we're going to see Hillary Clinton. She can catch up to the popular vote with 4 states. She can literally damn near tie the popular vote with California, Texas, Florida, New York. Not even including the other states in the Midwest or states like Washington that are liberal leaning. And so, no, in this particular scenario, the popular vote should absolutely not determine the outcome, because the Electoral College gives it balance. Yes, she already had an advantage because California, Florida, and New York are so, in liberal states, you tend to see technology being more prominent and used, millennial population being more prominent and used, the millennial population using this technology to spread information, because these are also the states with some of the best colleges in the country, because of where the states are located. So when and because of that, you start facilitating a cycle of misinformation, and it's taken advantage of. And in states like Kansas or Arkansas or Ohio, they're kind of out of that bubble of Hillary's the best. Hillary's the best. Trump is absolutely horrible. Bernie Sanders is non-existent and not important. And they are voting, at least for the most part, off of what they read. And they may be friends with like-minded individuals, but their vote isn't based completely off of misinformation. A lot of their vote is probably based off of things that they may read online, that they choose to go search, because a lot of people in those states choose to go search for things. And they do their own research, which is why they're usually swing states. They go either way. There's a reason that those are swing states. There's a reason places like Ohio, Wisconsin, and Michigan go either way in the general election. It's because they're not as interconnected statewide as a place like New York, as a place like California, as a place like Florida. So it's a good thing that in this particular situation we have the Electoral College. And as you all know, I am for ranked choice voting. Like, that's the answer to all of this. But even still, I would still like the Electoral College to be in place. I would still like proportionality. I would still like to see states not being able to dominate like California, like New York, like Florida, I would still like seeing states not being able to dominate simply because their population is larger, because the way that the laws work, the way that federal government, state government is set up, they will always be more populated. They will always be more dominant. For example, because education is based off of property taxes, public education, because education is based off of property taxes, California will always have an inherent advantage, which means likely in most populated areas, California will also have better public education. And because of that, because of the students that are coming out of that public education, California will also maintain a lot of their statesmen and stateswomen, because they have UCLA, they have University of Southern California. You see what I'm saying? Like, they will maintain a high population of a high earning power for a very long time. Same thing with New York. And therefore, they will always tip the favor of the election, tip the balance of the election into the favor of one candidate or the other. And the Electoral College offers balance in that sense. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the Electoral College in its current state. But I think sometimes what we confuse with the Electoral College, I think we're confusing a two-party system that is dominated because it's an incorporated two-party system, so both entities are private, and they're determining the involvement of any other party or any other person when it comes to the general election. And that, my friends, is what we need to be fixing. The Electoral College has its place, but we also need ranked choice voting. And we also need proportionality that the Electoral College has been able to give us. And so, yes, you all are right. The Electoral College does need to be reformed dramatically. No, if you were wrong, if you were saying that the electors should have voted out Trump, because what is left? Hillary Clinton. And considering that we've never had this conversation before, and for whatever reason, we didn't have this conversation with Bush and Al Gore. We didn't have this conversation. Oh, y'all should flip the votes over to Hillary Clinton. Yeah, we can, Russia, all that nonsense. It's really weird how whenever I can almost bet money that we're going to see less Russia on the TV screen now that the electors have voted. Now, Obama, the CIA, the FBI, or excuse me, not the FBI, James Comey, because the FBI says one thing, James Comey always says something else, and other intelligence agencies, 17 intelligence agencies, where their overarching authority figure says, you all are lying, but I digress. I guarantee now that the Electoral College is voted, we will start seeing a lot less of this Russia nonsense, because it's kind of convenient that when they lose, Russia becomes a thing again, even magnified to an extent. And now I think that the Russian narrative is honestly going to take a step back, and Obama and those agencies had a chance to quote unquote influence the electors. Remember, the electors called for an intelligence briefing. They were very understanding. They said, okay, we'll give you a chance. If this is true, please let us know. Give us an intelligence briefing. And if Russia really did influence this election, we will make our decision based off of information, the correct information, and we can go from there. They did not provide that information. They had an opportunity to provide that information. Barack Obama himself had a chance to tip the balance in favor of Hillary once again. But did he make that decision? No. Why? Because they don't have any information. They don't have it. It's non-existent. And because that very fact that they didn't tip the balance in favor of Hillary Clinton when they had a clear opportunity to, the electors had called for it, and it obviously, if they called for it, they meant it in a way to influence their final decision. And Barack Obama did not follow through with that. So we can kill the Russian nonsense. We can kill let's put Hillary Clinton in office, because that's no better. I know it sounds like a knee-jerk reaction. Hillary's better than Trump. That's not the case. But most importantly, we needed to preserve at least some part of our election integrity. We needed it. I know it's horrible, and we shouldn't have ever gotten to this point. If more people had been involved from the beginning, the Democratic Party would not have been able to do what they did to put us in this position. But we absolutely needed election integrity to prevail, and this is one way, by the electors putting in office who won. This is one way to preserve election integrity. The other way is being practiced by Jill Stein right now, which is continuing to pursue this recount. Another way is for everybody to remain educated and aware of what's happening right now. Now, our next step would be to make sure that Trump does not win 2020. We also need to make sure that the establishment does not set us up for failure like they did in 2016. And we need to have as many people involved with election integrity efforts now. Stop complaining. Stop putting memes up. Stop talking about how stupid Trump is. We know. But we also need to stop pretending that Trump himself is as powerful as the Congress and the Senate and all the state legislatures that have been put in power because of the failures of the establishment Democratic Party. He is not that powerful. But the lesson that we should be learning right now from North Carolina is that undercutting democracy is dangerous and petty, but dangerous. And what we're seeing in North Carolina, where the Congress, the Assembly, is the Republican Assembly is attempting to take power away from the democratically elected Roy Cooper, who won multiple recounts, and the Supreme Court now, because it is leaning Democrat. That lets you know Democrats specifically should learn from that particular instance. Stop messing with democracy. Stop the election fraud. Stop trying to tell electors to vote to switch their votes after Hillary got smacked. It wasn't even close. After cheating, she still got beat up. After the Russian narrative, she still got beat up. It wasn't even close. So right now, we need to be happy that this is the second time this election where election integrity has prevailed. And I'm happy about that. I'm not happy about Trump, but that's something I had to internalize in July. Before that, whenever the Democratic Party decided that they were going to skip a step in democracy and install Hillary Clinton, I had to accept that we were going to get Trump. And for those of you who have been watching for a while, you all know that I've been saying this. I knew that we were going to get Trump. The numbers didn't add up. The polls didn't add up. I understood the independence and how the states work. It just wasn't adding up. And lo and behold, ta-da! The most unpopular candidate in history loses. What a surprise. So, thank you all for watching. Share this video. For those who are coming in late, I will be posting this on YouTube shortly. So please take a gander. If you have any questions, comment below, and we'll see what we can do, and I will address them in the comments. So, thank you all. Have a good night. We have some work to do. We really, really have a lot of work to do. But hey, it could be worse. Hillary Clinton could have won, and then we would have been completely screwed. Have a good night.